Good morning. Welcome to the Database Management System class. In this class, we are looking towards a word called as keys and a word called as integrity constraints in the DBMS. We are familiar with three key terms as discussed earlier, but I will have a quick recap of these three terms and thereby explain the fourth term. So, the three terms what we discussed were the super key, candidate key, and the primary key. As far as super key is going to be concerned, it is going to be the uh, superset. It is going to be the superset here, and this superset will be from the table what we are going to employ. And obviously the intention was it should uniquely identify rows. Thus was the main intention here. We should uniquely identify the rows. So this is the main motto of any of a DBMS or whatever concepts they are going to be there. So I am going to have the first one as superset, and there we will be having the superset keys. From the super keys, we will have a minimal set of keys. This minimal set of keys is nothing but the candidate key. Is nothing but the candidate key. From the candidate key, we are going to identify a unique key, and that unique key we are going to call it as a primary key. So this was the hierarchy. So how is a superset formed? How is a superset formed means it is taken up from the attributes of a table. It is taken up from the attributes of a table. It can be a composition of attribute 1, 2, 3. It can be a composition of unique 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So whatever unique items are going to be there, those unique items has to be rendered. Objective of a super key, objective of a primary key, objective of a candidate key was uniquely identify the rows or tuples in a table. So this was the primary intention. Okay, this was the primary intention. So now here is an example. Employee SSN. Here is an example. So we are going to call employee SSN, employee ID, employee name, and employee email ID. So it can be a composition of two fields. It can be a single field. It can be of a multiple fields. Objective, uniquely identify the rows. This is the objective. Uniquely identify the rows. So I can uniquely identify a row with employee SSN number, uniquely identify a row with employee ID number, uniquely identify a row with employee email, or I can combine two fields to get unique row. To get unique row, I can combine two or more fields. So I'm going to combine employee ID name, employee SSN ID. So in this way I can go. Now, what is candidate key here? Candidate key is a key where we are going to get from the super key. Candidate key will come from the super key. This is a thumb rule. Okay, candidate key will come from the super key. This is a thumb rule. Now, how can I get it? You can get it from a minimal value, or I should get a minimal key. 3 are mixed, it is not minimal. 2 are mixed, it is not minimal. 1 is mixed, yes, it is a minimum value. So only one SSN, only one employee ID, only one email ID, only one is there. One is called as a minimum. So this minimum item I am going to call here as a candidate key. From the candidate key, we get primary key. From the candidate key, we are going to get the primary key, which will be the best key for domain. I'm going to apply my domain knowledge for my domain, which is going to be the best. So for my domain, I am going to choose employee SSN is the best. Therefore, primary key, I am going to put it as employee SSN. So this is how we are going to relate a candidate key, a super key, a primary key. So this was the main theme. Next comes how to work with referential keys. How to work with reference keys. How can I work with reference key? That is, I need to join or work with multiple tables. I need to work with multiple tables. How can I work with multiple tables? Then I can use a concept called as foreign key. It is going to create a relationship between tables. It is going to create a relationship between tables, and it is going to maintain data integrity. It is going to maintain data integrity. So here you can see department table 1, field 1. Department name table 2, field 2. Department code table 1, field 1. Department name table 2, field 2. This is table 2, field 1, table 2, field 2, table 2, field 3. Now, table teacher ID, it is going to be the primary key as it is uniquely identifying the rows. Department code, it is going to be a primary key as it is uniquely identifying the table. So department code 1, science. Department code 2, English. Department code 5, computer science. It is a uniquely identified. Teacher ID, teacher first name and teacher last name. So now I am going to join, I am going to link up two primary keys here, and one it is going to act as reference key. It is going to act as reference key, or it is going to be a foreign key. It is going to be called as foreign key. So foreign key objective was to have a relationship between two tables. In order to have a relationship between two tables, we are going to use a foreign key. What is the compulsory condition of a foreign key? That is, it should refer to the primary key. This is most important. The key what we are going to use in another table, it must be a primary key. Until unless it is not a primary key, we are not able to make a foreign key reference. Remember students. So it should be a primary key in the another table, then only we can be able to manage, we can be able to relate table 1 with table 2. So that is the importance of the foreign key. Done. We have talked about one, super key, two, candidate key, three, we talked about primary key, and fourth one we talked about foreign keys. Fine. Now, when we are going to talk about a foreign key, how can I make a foreign key, or how can I make a primary key? That was the basic question what we are going to get. So let us look at a syntax how we can create a primary key in a table. Let us create a SQL command. Let us create a SQL command where we are going to see that a table is going to be created. Where we are going to see that a table is going to be created by default inside the SQL command. SQL command. So we say here create is a command we are going to take up. Primary key is a thing what we are going to take up. So create table student detail. Register number belongs to an integer data type and it should not be empty and it is having a primary key. This is how we are going to make a reference to a primary key. How can a SQL command creates a primary key? This is the question, right? How can it create? Create tables, employee number, int number, close bracket, semicolon. We done it earlier. Now, how can I make that key as a primary key? That is the question. So how we are going to solve it? We are going to say roll number belongs to an integer data type and it is not null. It should not be empty and it should be a primary key and it is going to have a primary key and that is what we are going to call it as a reserved word. We are going to call it as a reserved. Rest of the fields, names it belongs to varchar2 and it is not empty. Marks it belongs to integer and it is not empty. It should not be empty. In this way we are going to create. So this is what we are going to say creation of a primary key. Now, of course, there are other methods of creating a primary key externally. That is, I have created the table first. I forgot to mention the primary key at that time. So how can I modify it? How can I upgrade it? I can upgrade it with a command called as a alter command. So I can say add constraint. Again, it is going to be a reserved word. Add constraint. Constraint is going to be a reserved word. And this is what we are going to say primary key student. It is a user defined name. We can give it as a user defined name and primary key it is again a reserved word. Primary key it is going to be a reserved word and it is going to be a combination of two columns. It is going to be a combination of two columns. What are the two columns? One, it is going to be a roll number. Another, it is going to be a name. So it is a combination of two columns. We are going to create a primary key. So it is a combination of two columns. That is, one, it can be a roll number. Another, it can be a name. We are going to create a primary key. Now, what is the syntax for creating a foreign key? Now, what is the syntax for creating a foreign key? So if it is towards creating a foreign key, now this is an example here. Create table followed by a department. Create table followed by a department. And we can look into this example here. So there are two tables. The table 1 name is student. Table 2 name is department. So student ID 101, 105, 107, 108. Student department belongs to computer science department and it belongs to some science department and it belongs to some maths department. Now here we are going to get a department name. We are going to get a department name here and student ID it is borrowed from It is borrowed from student table, right? In student table, student ID is the primary key. In student table, student ID is the primary key. This primary key went here. This primary key went to the department. So it is from India to USA. That means now Indians there, they are called as foreigners. Similarly, the student ID here, it is going to be called as a foreign key. Now, theory is okay. How can I put it in SQL command? How can I put this in an SQL command? So, putting this relation in a SQL command is as follows. Putting this thing in a SQL command is as follows. So, I'm going to have a department number. It belongs to varchar and it is going to be not null. It should not be empty. Now, see this relation. See this relation. Student ID is a primary key and it went to other table called department. So it is called as foreign key. So it is called as foreign key. Now, how can I put these English words in SQL command? I can put it as student ID. It belongs to an integer and it is a foreign key. This is important and it is going to be a foreign key and it refers. What it should refer? Where it came from? It came from the table called as student. It came from a table called as student. So student is going to be referred there. It came from a table name called as student. Therefore, student has to be referred there. Now we are going to say student and followed by student ID. So student ID, it is primary key in student table, but now it is referred in department table. So it is called as foreign key. So it is called as foreign key. So there are other comments. So we can drop a foreign key. How can I drop a foreign key? I can use a command called as drop and I can drop it. How can I alter the foreign key? I can say add foreign key with student name refers to student name. In this way, we can use in any of a way. We can work with an existing table or we can alter the table. So we talked about 4 keys. Now, let us look into a interesting topic called as integrity constraints. Let us look into a interesting topic called as integrity constraints. Okay. Integrity constraints are nothing but some conditions that SQL must meet. That is, all the DDL, DML, DCL, TTL must meet the conditions. They must meet the conditions, then only we are going to call them as integrity constraints. So meeting the constraints, they are nothing but some set of rules. They are nothing but some set of rules. Why we are going to use? We are going to use because a quality of data has to be maintained. Quality of data has to be maintained. Therefore, we are going to use them as integrity constraints. So, where it is going to be ensured? It is ensured at data insertion. It is ensured at data updation. That means it is working in DDL commands. It is working in DML commands. It is working in DDL commands or it is working in DML commands. So what was the main objective? To see that data integrity is not going to be affected and data is not accessed from external references. There is no accidental damage. There is no hacking of the data, hijacking of a data, data lost. data confusion, data damaging, everything is to be vulneralized. So we should not see that data is going to be damaged. For that, we are going to say integrity constraints has to be met. Now, how many types of integrity constraints are there? Basically, there are four types. Basically, there are four types. One, we are going to call it as domain constraints. Two, we are going to call it as entity constraints. Three, we are going to call it as referential integrity constraints. Four, we are going to call it as key constraints. I repeat the words. After repeating the word, I will explain each and everything with case to case. Okay? What is the first one? Domain constraint. Second one, entity integrity constraint. Third one, referential integrity constraint. Fourth one, key constraint. So these are the four ways of integrity constraints. Yeah. Now let us look in detail each and every constraint. So let us look in detail each and every constraint. Now first one we are going to call it as domain constraint. First one we are going to call it as domain constraint. Assume that I have created a table called as student. So create table student, and I have said add, I have given age. I have given a value called as age here. So this is age, and assume I am going to call it as an age as an integer, and I am going to give a range. I am going to give it as an integer. When it is going to be an integer, it is from 0 to numeric value, right? It is going to be a numeric value. Now, I have said insert into table some values, whatever it is, and then I have put 17. Now, 17 is inserted. 24 is inserted, 21 is inserted. So everything goes well. But now if I am going to give it as A is character data type. A is character data type. But age is integer or numeric type. So error comes. It is not allowed. So it is not allowed. Not allowed. This is called as domain constraint. This is called as domain constraint. So I have taken one column. I have taken one column called as an age, and to this age I have restricted the values towards only a integer. So I am going to give absent, I am going to give some A. So A is a character data type, and this character data type will not be fitting into the table. As I have declared it as an integer, an error is going to comes. So coming of this error is because you created a word called as a domain constraint. So it is going to define some valid set of values for a range. It is going to set off some valued set of values. So that is what we say here as a domain constraint. Okay. After coming to the completing the domain constraint, now let us look into a new word called as entity integrity constraint. Entity integrity constraint. So now let employee ID is primary key. Let employee ID is primary key. That is employee. In employee, we created employee ID. It is an integer, and it is going to be, it is an integer value, and it is not null, and it is going to be a primary key. It is going to be a primary key. So in this way we created, right? I'm not writing the complete table. I'm writing only for the example. Okay. So let us say let employee ID is a primary key. So how can I create a primary key? This is table name, and employee ID is going to be a field name, and ID I am going to call it as data type, and not null and primary key we are going to call them as constraints. We are going to call them as constraints. So here I am going to put a null value. So not allowed. It is not allowed. So it is called as entity integrity constraint. It is called as entity integrity constraint. It is called as entity integrity constraint. Why we are going to call entity integrity constraint? We told that employee ID is a primary key. We told that employee's entity is a primary key. What is a primary key definition? It is unique and not null. It is unique and not null. But we are inserting a null space. We are inserting a null space. How can it accept? It won't accept. It should not accept. Making that it should not accept is going to be called as entity integrity constraint. Okay. So that is what we are mentioning with this primary key. Okay, fine. After primary key, now let us look into the third aspect. Let us look into the third aspect, that is referential integrity constraint. Referential integrity constraint, you know that it is called as foreign key. You know that it is called as foreign key. So when we are going to call it as a foreign key, now I am going to have table 1, I am going to have table 2. There are two tables. So employee name, employee ID, age, department number. Here this is table 1, and table 2 I am going to have department number and department location. Okay, table 2 I am going to have department number and department location. Now this value, what we are going to put, it is relating two tables. It is relating two tables. So it is called as foreign. So it is called as foreign key. Right? Up to there it is clear. Now, what is a constraint here? I have 11 here, I have 24 here, and I have 13 here. I have 3 records. What are the 3 records? One it is 11, another it is 24, another is 13. Okay, I have the same 11, I have the same 24, I have the same 13. But this is an ambiguity. So I will just write it again. So this is an ambiguity. What is the ambiguity here? So the ambiguity is as follows. The ambiguity was 18. So I have 11, I have 24, I have 13. 11 is there, 24 is there, 13 is there. All 3 are there. But 18 is there. It should not be there. Right? Why it should not be there? Two tables are related. Two tables are related. So this is not allowed. Why it is not allowed? Because 18, department number 18 not exist in department table. This is the rule. Is 18 here? No. 18 is not inserted in department table. 18 is not inserted in department table, but if we use it in employee table, we get error. We get error. This creation, we are going to call it as an employee integrity constraint. This is what you should understand. This is what you should understand. So whatever field, whatever records, whatever rows are there here, 11, 24, 13. So 11, okay. 24, okay. 13, okay. We can make a relationship. But 18 is not there here. But how can you put 18 there? 18 number department is not there. How can we put an employee there? Assume this college is going to have IT department, CSC department, ECE department, and civil department. Okay. Now let us say there is a geoinformatics department. Can a geoinformatics can a girl taking geoinformatics can join in this college? This college is not offering geoinformatics course, right? This college is not offering geoinformatics course, and how can a employee or how can a student exist in this college with a specialization of geoinformatics? It is not there. So that is what we are going to call here as a referential integrity constraint. So we take in this. So in today's talk, we were confining with the most important words, that is what we assumed here, called as keys, We discussed about candidate key, foreign key, super key, and primary key. Now let us look into two words. One we are going to call it as a composite key, another we are going to call it as secondary key. So secondary keys we are going to call it as alternative keys. Secondary keys we are going to call it as alternative keys. So what is composite key? If I want a name, I will combine name with last name and first name. I will combine name with last name and first name. If it is a composition of two or more fields, then I am going to get it as a composite key. Secondary key we are going to call it as an alternate key. Assume that I am going to have student number, I am going to have this student number, student mobile, and student email. Now I can say student number is primary key, and mobile number and emails we are going to call it as a secondary keys. If primary key was not used, then we can go with the secondary key. Got it? So there are different keys in a DBMS. One we called it as candidate key. Two we are going to call it as primary keys. Three we are going to call it as super keys. Fourth we are going to call it as composite key. Fifth we are going to call it as secondary keys. And last we do call it them as a foreign key. So this is all about the different key management systems which are going to happen here. After this, we have a interesting content which has to be taken up as views. So we will be talking it in the afternoon class. So as of now, we will be talking with the content earlier, which was left over. So extending of the same content, we were mentioning about super keys. We had enough discussion with super key. Then K should be very minimal. We call them as a candidate keys. And after candidate key, we were talking it can be with primary key in a declaration form. It can be with a single field or it can be with a multiple fields. You can represent it. Then we talked about foreign key and we talked about the referential key. So referential key, see here, it must be a match of a PK. PK stands for primary key, and it must be a primary key in that table. So we do have an enrolled database, and we do have a student database, and student is going to be borrowed to the enrolled. So student is going to be here towards the enrolled here. So student ID, it is going to call it as primary key, and enrolled ID, it is reference, or we are going to call it as a foreign key. So a match should happen between the things, and compatibility of a data type also should happen. If I am going to put integer, here also it should be integer. Okay. If primary key is integer, then reference key should also be a integer. If integer float, then again it is an error here. So compatibility match should happen. Compatibility match should happen. So now you can see that primary key, it can be taken up from SID and CID, and foreign key, it is going to be taken as SID, and SID is taken from student table, or SID is referred from the student table. So that is what we mentioned. So that is all regarding, we work with a topic called as an enforcing content, referential key content. Yeah. Now, this is more important when we are talking about enforcing key constraint. These four words are more important when we are going to see a enforcing of key constraint. So how we can relate here? How we can relate here? First one, we are calling it as cascading. First one, we are going to call it as cascading. So if I am deleting here, the same option has to be deleted, right? This is table 1, this is table 2. If item in table 2 is deleted, then item in table 1 is also deleted. Okay, that means if I am going to delete the things in one table, the same items are also has to be deleted. So delete the referred key. Next one was instead of deleting that items, instead of deleting the row, instead of deleting the column there, put null. Put null value. That is, instead of deleting this record, you put null here, then we are going to call that item as set null. We are going to call that item as set null. Okay. So two conditions. Condition number 1, if the items are going to be deleted at one location, the same items what we are going to refer, those also has to be deleted. We call them as cascading. We call them as cascading. Second thing, instead of deleting that item, you put a null value there. instead of putting a deleting a value, you put a null value there. We are going to say set it as not null, or we can call it as unknown or unacceptable. Next one, disallow deletion. See, this is very interesting. You should not encourage deletion at all if it is referred. If I am going to refer something from another table and if I am going to delete it, don't delete. That is what we are going to call it as enforcing of a constraint. Enforcing, you say that no action. Enforcing, you say that no action. If you are going to delete any record from other table which is referred, you see that that record will not be honored. That record will not be deleted at all. We say it is no action. And fourth one, we are going to dump it with put with default values. Put with default values. That means if the value was 101, you deleted it. You put some default value. It should be always 5. If there is a 5 is a default value, you put that 5. Then we are going to call that item as a set default option. Okay. When we are going to delete some operations, there are 4 conditions. Condition number 1, if you delete one record in one table, the corresponding key is also going to be deleted. Item number 1. Item number 2, you should not allow any deletion if we are going to use foreign key. We call it as no action. Cascading, if you delete in one table, delete it in another table. Cascading. If you delete it in one table, you should not allow any deletions in table 1 and table 2. You call it as no action. Table option number 3, let the default value is 1. If you are deleting 5, then the default value 1 should be in that place. That is called as set default. And fourth one, if you delete something and there is no default value, you put a value called as unknown. That is nothing but we are going to call it as set null. So this is how the integrity constraints are going to be enforced over the referential key. So that is all for today, and our next class will be in the afternoon, where we will be discussing a very, very interesting topic called as views. Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining my class. Yeah. Ending up the session.